The last few weeks have been really busy. The next few weeks are really busy. But everyone that I know in my family keeps having birthdays and doing events, and so we're preparing to go to a couple different graduations, getting ready to go to a wedding reception, those kinds of things in the days ahead. So I'm trying to fit my artwork in and around. One of the things I do during the winter is sit and sketch in my sketchbook while my husband watches television. I did some sketches all through the winter last year, and I have translated them to line drawings, and now I'm beginning to paint them. But today, because I'm getting ready to go to a graduation and I have a cousin whose birthday is coming up, I've got a couple cards that I need to address the outside of. And so I thought I'd show you just a quick video, let you see how I do a card, how I come up with ideas and how I painted. So to do a card for my cousin, and so I'm going to use an idea that jumps off from a stamp. I'm going to use the Scratch and Sniff stamp that comes as my jump off. And so I took a piece of scrap paper that I've been practicing working out ideas on, similar to the envelope. Here's my card for my cousin, for a great cousin. So I've got a pink card that I need to work with, and so I took my pink cardstock paper and did a practice run, and I'm going to do this little motif here on the card. I worked out how tall I want it, and I think that this spacing is great. I'll probably move it down and over a little bit, and perhaps make my popsicles a little bit smaller. If I can move this over, I might tip them and put them sideways. So I'm going to just begin painting, and I'll try to comment now and then about what is happening color-wise, how I choose color. So you can see here in the background, you can see my palettes that I've been using to paint my letters, my alphabets. But I'm going to just dip in and use what I've got to accomplish this. I don't want to have to mix up new things. And my favorite tool here with my calligraphy, with my painting with gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, is my wonderful little spray bottle. All of this is dried up from previous use, but now all I need to do is just give it a quick spritz with water, and I've got enough moisture. It reconstitutes, and so it's one of the really cool parts about using gouache watercolor. Sorry, get sidetracked thinking about one thing, getting ready for another. So I'm going to begin with my cousin's letter here. I'm going to line it up, get ready to paint on it, and do this. And so I'm going to set my inspiration piece up there and begin getting a line put on and see what I can do. And I measure that already. I'm going to put a line across there, and I'm going to give it a full ½ inch for the big letters and a1/4 inch for the lowercase letters. And the lettering I'm using is from this wonderful Speedball textbook. You can find it at many art supply stores. That you can get the Speedball textbook. They've come out with this for years and years, for 100 years. This is this year's edition, and it's got all sorts of different alphabets and directions about how to make them. So it's almost a textbook for learning to do calligraphy. But I chose to use this Pointed Pen Variations by Mike Kessig, and I'm going to use this really modern look because this is kind of contemporary looking. So I've just decided how to do that. I'm going to use Dr. P.H. Martin's Pen White. It's an ink that's mint and that goes really well when you have a colored paper. I would highly recommend it. It flows pretty good. I had to add water. It was a little on the thick side. And because I'm going to use a pointed pen, this is a pointed pen, and it's called an oblique pen because the nib is set off at an oblique angle. It's intended for using with copper plate and round hand writing so that you can keep your hand straight and this angle works really easy instead of having to turn your paper. So modern and contemporary, it doesn't really matter, but the nib that I've got in here, if you'll notice, it will get wider as you press firmer. It'll split, the little split in the nib widens out and more ink flows. And as I release the pressure, less ink flows, so I can get very fine hairlines. So that's what you'll see me doing here as I write Connie's name. So here we go. I'm going to finish the address later in the interest of privacy for her. And so let me begin painting, and I think I'm going to leave my stamp here so I can think about it. I'm going to take a quick sketch. I know her address will fit in here, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a rough placement for my two popsicles. And let's go ahead and tuck them right up underneath. You probably can barely see the pencil mark here, but I can see it. And I'm just doing the basic shape that I see. And I'm going to start with my lightest here in the middle, this cream color middle. And so you probably can't see my water bowls here. I've got some junky water bowls. I've got some leftover white. I'm going to give a mist here to my white and a little dab of my gray. And this middle color is kind of a yellowy, gray, creamy color. So I've taken a little of my warm gray and blended it here just a little bit, mostly white, and then a tiny dab of my yellow I had touched in here to get it just ever so slightly yellow. And I'm just going to put a rough band across the middle here. Whoops, it's not yellow enough. So I'm going to add a little more yellow to that. The white and my wet brush is probably just about enough of the yellow to get it in there. Yep, just about right. Okay, and now I want the orange, and you'll see I had some orange left from another project, or one of my letters, and so I'm going to give it a spritz. I don't want to get it too wet. If there's too much water, the pigments in the paint don't cover opaquely, so I want to be a little careful. So I'm going to go ahead and paint my orange, and I'm going to paint right over my pencil line. It will cover it up, and I'm going to go ahead and lash that in there. And when I look at the stamp, I see that someone has kind of let it smear up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my little white stuff that I had here and my bit of yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of smear it up there and touch that back up. Now you can see it's still not really not quite dry, but it dries actually quite quickly. The lower half is kind of a purple, and I have this purple here, so I'm going to try that and see what happens, and I'll show you what happened when I was testing this. I put this some white here mixed in with my purple. I laid it in, and I'm looking at the card and going, the stamp, and it is definitely not as pink, as fuchsia color as it should be. It's too plain old lavender, and I don't want a lavender popsicle. So when I get that done, then I'm going to swing back here into my pink and add a little bit of a whisper of pink over this while it's still slightly wet, and see if I can get it a little more purpley color. It works pretty good. It's a little more fuchsia. Okay, and now for my blue here, I'm going to use the white and blue that I had for some project, really pale to begin with. I want the background, I'm going to paint the whole background in first, so it's all going to be a light blue first. And the white seems to help cover over, get it in there. And you can see I have almost too much water. It's a little on the thin side so that the paint is not covering thoroughly. So if you're going to use gouache, be sure not to get too skimpy with the pigment itself, with the paint. Get too much water and you end up with more of a floaty, almost transparent watercolor method. And you don't want to do that. That's one of the benefits of having opaque watercolors, that you hide what's behind. Okay, so there I am. I've got the undercut of light blue, and now I'm going to go to the dark blue over here, and my brush is pretty wet, so I'm going to blow on it a little. Maybe I need to move it a little bit, air it out, get it to dry. Yeah, looks like it's beginning to dry near the top there. Paint. I'm going to paint the top. Make that little stripe across the top, and then I'm going to leave room for a middle colored blue. I'm going to do another blue stripe, another blue stripe, and I think I probably need to reload again, and another blue stripe. And I notice in the stamp that they have one more dark blue right here, so I'm going to go ahead and extend down here to that. And now I need kind of a medium blue, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to this that I started with, but incorporate a little more, spray. Come back and add a little bit more of this medium blue here, so it's halfway between the light and the dark, and I've got this medium. So here comes another band of blue. Striped popsicle. I don't know that I've ever had a striped popsicle as a kid. My favorite when I was a child was either a fudgesicle or a creamsicle. Yeah, and my best flavor was cherry. So I think I spent a lot of summer afternoons when allowance time came, we would go to the corner store and buy penny candy and popsicles. And my favorite was a cherry one, so Mother could tell that whether I'd chosen a cherry popsicle, my mouth would be red. Now for my stems, I'm going to go ahead and spritz into my neutral color, burnt sienna here, and get a little bit of this color. Like I said, I don't want too much water, so if I've oversprayed, I need to work it out until I've got just the... And so here's my my stick. Yeah, I guess it is a stem in a way. And paint those, and now I'm going to add just a little bit of light. I'm going to add some white and lighten this up a little bit to give it a little bit of contrast here. One side and the other. Make it look a little more three-dimensional. There we go. Okay. Oh, and then I have on my orange there, you see on the stamp there are some dots, so I'm going to go back with my pen white and throw some dots on there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my pen and write some fun things, but I'm going to put dots on here of different sizes. Some big, some little, like sprinkles on the popsicle. Now, I think I'm going to write across the base of my, these are dry already, so I'm going to write across here, cool fun. So, and this is totally loose. I'm not going to. Okay, so there I am. I'm ready to put my stamp on, and there we go. And I will be ready to put her address on here in a few minutes and sign the card and put it in the mail. One of the other things I can do is put my own address across here, or I'll use my own return address sticker there. I need to obviously erase my pencil lines and do that. And now I'm done. I have another birthday card or a graduation card I need to write, so I'll close up here. Off I go to parties and events. And there you have it. I'm finished with my cards and ready to sign them and stick them in the mail and add them to the package. It was really great fun. Hope the rest of your summer is really great. Bye. Bye.